Close at work. What do you mean? The application's right. Testing, yes. I could end the meeting at the end, just end the meeting for all, and then. At the end of the meeting, just end meeting for all, and then close it out. Thank you.
That's good to see.
You can turn on your microphones, please. Start your engines. Kyoko's yours on. It's already in force. Okay. Welcome everyone to WSC. We had a beautiful couple of days, no?
Yes.
All right. So the minutes of 6/3/26. Do I have a motion to move approval?
I will move to.
Okay, second? Okay.
No comments?
Any comments or any? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. Now we have one bit of cleanup to do. And that is, I sent this to all of you on email. I hope that you had a chance. In the minutes on April 1, hi, Jeff. I put in there that we had sent a letter to the village regarding the bubblers. We had not. So Jake modified the minutes to reflect that taking that piece out. In order to do that, we have to vote on it. So what we're asking for is I will move it. I will move that modification be made in our minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. That was done because they were done by email and we have to actually vote on it. Okay. Okay, on the update on the community members' comments from last meeting, I sent to everyone the letter that was done with a lot of input from Joe and Ellen. I think it was a very good letter and contained information if he does share it with anyone. So I think that's a good outcome. I guess my question is, do we also want to have, Ellen mentioned this when we were going over the letter, do we want to have some sort of an easy fact sheet for the community that we might use maybe at the town hall in August, or if others write to us? Do we want to have just a quick fact sheet? Kyoko, you had sent us that image with some facts on it.
For the weight vote,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very accessible.
So is this kind of what we should use? You probably remember this stuff here.
Another version of this kind of information is a set of frequently asked questions, which will take some time to compile. And I'm not sure it's worth the candle. I like what Kyoko furnished us. And our law speaks for itself. What I'm concerned about is that as we get inquiries from the public about this, asking us to justify our decision, we're going to be spending a lot of time rehashing things that I don't know really advance the ball and also become opportunities for mistakes and contradictions, and then people jump on that and they file litigation. So I think we should keep to a very straightforward message, and I like this because it's kind of not our work product, but it's a product of a lot of sound thinking and science. So
And done by another lake. So in case there's we're suspect because we live here. That might be better.
We have permission, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, Kyoko, got that. Thank you, Kyoko. And then the document that attaches to it talks about wake surfing. So I think we can use these two. Florian, would you ask Matt if he's comfortable that this second thing has enough stuff in it that he's done so much work on that?
Yeah, which is this one of the things that
Yes.
was there?
No,
Can you send a copy over?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll send it to you. I just want to make sure that he feels like everything is in there that
Sure.
he feels needs to be listed. And then I think if people have questions, we hand it out.
Yep.
Yes.
Maybe just answer my question. Is our intent to be reactive or proactive? With this,
Now, that's what Joe was just saying too.
and get it out and preempt questions and so forth, demonstrate the thought process has gone into it, it's basis in science and study.
The article in the paper that Jake did with the reporter had some good stuff in it. I don't know. Joe, what do you think?
Well, I wanted to have a very spare reply to Mr. Polgar. We, as a committee, heard him read his long paper. I don't think any of the suggestions or contentions or observations that were things that we hadn't considered. Especially the scientists. And I really wanted to avoid getting into a dialogue with a particular constituent. Trying to address those questions when another constituent will come in right behind it with something else, and we just lose. We take a lot of time to address these things away from other things we really need to do.
Mm.
And I think our law speaks for itself. So I haven't read the Seago piece criticizing or suggesting the unfairness of what the village has done, what we've done collectively.
Right.
I don't know if it's other than through our regular communication, which is the proactive part. I mean, we are creating a narrative at every step of the way through the work we do as communicated by the communications committee. And I think that's.
And every one of the municipalities is having their public hearing.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be at every one of those to talk to it.
Yeah.
I suggest that we, in these public forums, just talk to the science that led to it and not talk to the specifics of the legislation.
Right.
Right.
And as Joe often says, our policies follow the science, not vice versa. Go ahead, Kyoko.
So I think there are two layers to that contention that I see it as I analyze it. One is beyond science, which is that they own certain type of watercraft and they feel that their, right to use it has been reduced or eliminated. And then that is mixed with the argument about the validity of science. And they need to be separated out. And the dealing with the right to use their own, boat that they already have, etc. That is something that the village and other municipalities need to deal with in their own arena. But that should not be used to question the validity of the science.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we can get into the weeds on the law, but you can own the title to your boat. But it's the local government that gives you the license or the permit to operate it. And there's also some state overlay, obviously, on that. And we're talking about our authority to govern. Not this, you bought your boat, good for you, but there are limits on how it can be used in view of the public interest, public health that's at stake. And
Based on
I don't
science.
mind coming at that, if that's where we have to meet on those things. The property right is one thing, the science is another. They can't use the science to justify their property interest in harrowing the lake. It's.
Right. They're separate. They're separate. Yeah.
So my interpretation of this would be the usual channels of communication would be responding to something in the paper.
Mhm.
We would submit that or some version of that. That we all, WAC as well as this group would have that. So we all have the same speaking points and at our disposal. And in whatever forum, it could be a town board meeting. Rob, I want to pull that out and just share it with people. Say, here's the thinking behind this, with the questions. So not shotgun, but selected, dedicated, prepared to respond.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's the balance.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted Matt to take a look at that because or Kyoko, obviously. You gave it to us, but if you see something missing in there that we need, and we can redo it too, but. I want to be sure it's our view of this and that our scientists have said, yeah, that's exactly right. So.
And I just want to go back to the stretching us too thin point. There are 4 governments, there's the Watershed Supervisory Committee. We speak officially all the time. I mean, we're having this official meeting and people can listen in on it.
Yeah.
This is an open meeting. Each of the hearings that Paul described is going to take place and people will speak to them, but I would recommend that each of us not feel that we have to respond to something that comes up in the paper, or a letter to the editor or something on social media. That's not our job.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't feel particularly threatened by it. Institutionally, I don't mean personally, but I mean institutionally, I don't feel particularly threatened by
Right.
that. So I just think we need to stay on task and
Right.
get our work done.
And what I'll do, as an example, Jeff, with this article that was in the paper, I'll speak to the mayor. And say, it's up to you and the board, whether you want to respond to this, but it's not for us to respond. And that's my view of it anyway.
I have one thing that the gentleman brought up. And that was that his vote had never been anyplace else. And so the argument about the wake surfing boats in particular is the potential for invasive species.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is, I've never taken it anyplace else, even though you can't inspect my boat. You should believe me. And I think we should have a uniform response to that. Because I think it's not that we don't believe you necessarily. We cannot just, we don't have any way of knowing for sure that there aren't invasive species by whatever could happen. That you may not even have known about, but it isn't that we're saying you're lying or we can't trust you as an individual. Nobody has the science or the mechanical advantage to
Be sure of
rule
that.
that and ensure that,
Yeah.
and that it's a big deal to
Yeah.
not do it. And I just.
And just to add to that is that is not the argument, it is an argument. Other arguments are the downward thrust,
Yeah.
the wave action,
Yeah.
the ballast. So when you see an article in a public paper and it zeroes in on one, it zeroed in on one thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this committee wants to go with that, but there was no mention of the downward thrust.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there are 2 bases,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't call them arguments, I would call them at least 2 bases for our scientific recommendation or conclusion that we've got to deal with these boats. And you're right, it was the downward thrust and the consequences of that, and it was the invasive species. Even if the invasive species issue can be found to be moot in the case of a person who keeps their boat only in one lake, that's not the end of the story, and that doesn't mitigate,
It's just
militate
one-
against
yeah.
the control of the.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not my point. My point is that what that person is sort of saying is, you don't believe me.
So it's, I get you now. It's not about belief. It's just that we can't prove anything.
That's my point.
Okay.
Is that
Gotcha.
it has to be clear that we're not saying that we don't trust you or we don't believe you or whatever it is. We can't. There's no way that we know of. And if somebody invents that, then that argument can go away.
Yeah.
or that concern should go away.
It's-
Put it that way.
What's the medical corollary would be, you say to the patient, do you have diabetes? And they say no, and you believe them and don't do any testing.
Yeah.
So, we have to, we can't test to be sure. Doesn't mean you aren't, that you're not believable, but we have
It's
to
not a
know.
personal insult
Not a personal.
for us and
Yeah.
against them, that's what I'm
Right.
basically trying to say.
Everybody good with that? So,
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, good. I think that was a good letter that went out, and I think we were on the right track here. We did all that. Okay, the septic issues, Joe's working on the county. He's gonna chat with the village about the launch schedule. And I don't have an update. Jacob is celebrating his birthday today, so we'll talk about that at the next meeting. I don't remember, I don't recall, for those of you who were here before, Jim, and did we have a septic inspection schedule in the past? Or it was just whatever the inspector brought to the table?
It was,
Remember?
yeah, it was driven by the schedule, so if it was a 5-year. Period, it wasn't date specific, it
Okay.
was year specific, so.
Okay,
And those, as we said before, those periods vary between 3, 5, and 10 years, so.
Yeah.
There's no consistency.
okay,
It also had some relationship depending on the type of system.
Right.
To when this, have a relationship with the people who use these systems. He knew when that was, frequently they would pull the cap for him because they were there cleaning it, and he would go when they were going. So
good memory. Sheesh.
that is how, do it. So that he would get a schedule sometimes from them, so
Okay.
that. Was a piece of it, making it somewhat erratic.
Right,
And he also had those people who were still out of compliance from previous seasons. Like the previous summer, maybe they were supposed to get done, they didn't get done, so there was the layover problem.
so we had the year before, we didn't do many. This year, we just want to make sure that we're on track this year for all of that. So I just.
My sense was there was, maybe, I get back, my sense is there were a lot more inspections. Al did almost every day.
Yeah,
I mean, there would be, you come to a meeting like this, there'd be a dozen or 15.
Right, right.
So I think my sense is we're getting behind, but.
Okay, we'll check that out with Jake.
and that's what, Kyoko, I'm going back to your report about Long Island and the advanced treatment units and how they're inspected. Are we gonna consider a best management practice that to require advanced treatment on as a threshold for individual wastewater treatment systems within the zone of protection? Do you feel that over time, traditional septic system is inimical to Lake Health? Or do you think
I mean. This whole watershed, as you might have seen in the draft of the 9-element plan, the first 3 chapters. Most of the area is very poor for septic leach field. And they're going to decline in their ability to absorb nutrients somewhere around 30 to 40 years, but now some other, new piece of evidence is saying that it could be as short as 20 years.
Yeah.
How many of the camps around the lake in the zone of protection are newer than 20 years with brand new leach field, So we are really getting there, and unless we come up with sewer system, advanced treatment unit really needs to be the direction you're moving on. And also ATUs could be more like labor intensive in terms of maintenance, etc. And if there are multi-unit housing, they really should have, or like clustered housing, they should think about what we call mini sewer system. that say if it's like a development, you might have 20 houses in the neighborhood.
Right.
Structure it with a homeowners association so that they actually have a small system that is like a miniature, septic or the sewer system. And the maintenance and upkeep is going to be paid by the HOA fee.
Right, and then there are these, I've come across them in different contexts, but those packaged wastewater treatment plants were the small developments. One of them occurred where a tribe was developing a casino, and there was simply no way to handle all the wastewater from that. So one of the conditions was to build one of these, not a municipal sized plant, but a plant that was going to act like that with all the features of a wastewater treatment plant, but in a much smaller context. So that might happen with Manichurian or something, although God knows about that. But I just wanted to raise the idea that one of our outcomes from this process may be, and if wakeboard is an issue, I think this will be a bigger issue.
Yeah.
But I still think it just describes the state of the lake.
Yeah.
And what we need to remediate.
So who's looked at the BMPs that Jacob sent? Yeah, has
I
anybody?
think it's some of them, yep.
That's the 2 pages, wasn't in the first 2 pages.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. I make sure the sewer assessment of best management practice for sewer systems in the protection zone be on there. I'll make sure that we have that on there so that we can, I mean, that has ripple effects, everywhere, right? But it should be there as something we consider.
This committee in the early aughts, prompted by Wynn McIntyre's preliminary planning, pushed hard for a shared wastewater system around 5 Mile Point. Tremendous pushback from the public. And I think the public is better educated now than they were then, but the major concerns were the perceived lack of fairness in how the costs were going to be shared.
Okay.
Now, these larger systems get inspected by the state, don't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, so
Depends on the size, yeah. So if it's like only 2 or 3 neighbors going together,
Then it's just a
it
septic
wouldn't be
system.
speedies, type, but larger ones, like I think one of the motels have just.
and Glimmer, the condominiums up at
Yeah,
5 Point,
yeah.
they're on the DEC permit, but all they are is an engineered septic system,
Yeah.
right? They.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this thing was something more than that. This was actual wastewater treatment.
Sure, right.
That was proposed back then.
It didn't
Yeah.
apply. Okay. All right, we'll make sure it's on the BMPs. While we're talking about that, I'll just slip to that part of the agenda. We got to do these other things, but I talked with Jake on the phone. He would really appreciate people getting back to him as soon as you can about whether or not you're okay with the list or there's something missing or something should be modified. The consultants are pushing that, well, I shouldn't say it that way, but they are appropriately concerned about the timing of the final BMP document and with the 9E plan. I think we're fine, but it would be good to get it back to Jake. He and the consultants then need to set some sort of priority that we can then look at that. So that'll be step 2, will be what the priorities and who's going to monitor it, et cetera. And then the sustainability committee, as I understand it, will start to meet, which is a group that will stay after the 9E is submitted to make sure that the BMPs are actually monitored and brought here if there's an issue, et cetera.
So we'll have a chance to chat about this later in the agenda, right?
Well, we
Yeah,
could do it now. We can,
I'm not, I don't, you need to change the agenda, but.
no, go ahead, because we're talking about it. Let's do it, please.
Well, that's one overarching, that's sort of a strategic issue, what kind of wastewater plans are we going to require and how do we go about requiring them through the county? Is that gonna have to be a county action because they're the public health?
I don't know.
Authority, I believe it's the county that does that.
Department of Health, yeah.
And then I just had a couple of comments. One thing that isn't in here, on number 7 on page 1, is bulkheads. I can't think of anything more environmentally intrusive. Well, there are a lot of things, I guess, but bulkheading the riparian zone of a natural water body is pretty destructive. So, and we have a lot that are probably going to have to be grandfathered, but certainly expanding their use on the lake. I'd invite somebody's thoughts on. So they strike me as not a good idea.
Okay.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the issue, flat surfaces reflect the wave energy, which cause bottom erosion much greater than would happen if the wave was coming up on a gradual increase or a gradual decrease of the shoreline.
Did you know that, Joe?
Yeah.
I did. That's fascinating. So wait, say that again.
I guess our education on lakefront hasn't really traveled that far. If you go down and look at, so lakefront in the 1920s was, Lakefront Park was actually a marina. I have pictures of it. Somewhere, I don't know, in the 30s or 40s, somebody decided to fill it in and reclaim the land. And so the garden that we have there, that is actually built on top of concrete rubble. We've got that bulkhead right in front of Lakefront Park. And the village used to try to grow grass right up to that bulkhead. And what would happen is that the wave energy, when the north wind comes howling down the lake, would come up under the bulkhead and erode out that soil.
Okay.
And before we put the garden in with the deep-rooted plants, the village, at least in 1 year, used 23 truckloads of soil to fill in behind that bulkhead. Wow. Now, we still have that issue. But what we have done in front of the bulkhead to mitigate that reflective energy is we have, with DEC's permission and a permit that we have to renew all the time, we drop boulders right in front of the bulkhead. And there are a couple of people here that have assisted with that. It's a challenge.
Those are beach balls. Those are beach balls.
It's a challenge, and every year we try to put a few more in, and the wave energy moves those things around.
Wow.
Well, we're talking some
Big stones.
stuff, glacial stuff this big, and that gets rolled back in under the dock.
Wow.
Put a few more in.
And the idea is for them to be the energy dissipator, so it's not totally flat.
That's right.
Dissipate it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
The state of Michigan has a really nice handout on this that I brought here a couple of years ago, but I'll get it around again.
Okay.
So it's, they have a way of layering this and putting a bunch of different types of things in so that rides up and it loses its energy as it rises up, just like Paul described. It's a little, I think, easy to visualize it.
Okay, great.
So we have in the town of Springfield, a property owner who has been for the last 3 years trying to build a straight bulkhead down from his property.
That you, Bill?
No, I'm not talking about your normal sized one that might be 2 or 3 feet. We're talking about one that goes up 20 feet.
Holy
Oh.
mackerel.
And that thing has been eroded out over and over and over again. And I can't imagine how persistent
Yeah,
that property owner is in going right back and doing the same thing over again.
Well, God bless. All right, so we need to put this on the
Yeah.
BMPs. All right. Perfect. So let's be sure that. I'm sorry, Pat.
Well, I wasn't clear. Are we commenting on this being case or asking questions about them now, or is it, will we wait for Jay?
No, we don't have to wait for Jake. Jake said either send your comments to him as soon as you have them or ask questions as soon as you have them. So that he can start making sure that it's a good document before the July, whatever that deadline is, that.
Yeah, and I think for
Second.
his benefit, just take the paragraph number, they go 1 through 12 on the first page and so on, all the way along, and just type up a comment, and then he knows where
Right.
to go for it.
Yeah, don't wait. Go right ahead whenever you want.
One of these, I think, rolls over into, the municipal assessment analysis that we did, but it also raises a big issue in the town of Otsego, and it's number 9. Which is require site plan review of all projects in the Lake Protection District, including the tributaries. And up until now, there's been no inspections along the tributaries. And it so happens that there is something that was supposed to be just a little yoga retreat on Wilmer Glen Road. Where one of the tributaries runs right next to the property. And now there's 50 to 100 people showing up there on the weekends for a little therapy, Buddhist yoga therapy. And nobody's inspecting it, and it was approved. So it's not just required, it's like we're gonna have to figure out how to revisit this problem. And I don't know what kind of septic system they've got there, but I can't imagine they've got something to handle the kind of number of people and the
Right.
traffic that's going on up there.
Okay.
Well,
So with that would,
right, we have the authority to do the tributaries. We haven't demarcated what the reasonable end of the tributary are, is tributary to subtributaries, but we do have that authority. I think the task right now is to get the initial, with the 500-foot zone inspected. As serious as that might be, I just think we've got to triage and do this,
yes,
get this done first. As Jim said, when they were being done by Al Keck and, whoever was helping him, he had his book out and they were cranking through. Now, how much more or different things could have been done in those inspections, that's another question, but they were being done and people knew they were being visited and there were interactions going on. And so we're trying to get that back up and reacculturate people to the fact of these inspections.
so yes, and definitely let him know you want to put something in there about it. There's nothing wrong with that. We can still put
If
it.
that's
in.
a future thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing that I'm not sure that it's a best management practice, but it was one of Al's practices. He searched all of the Airbnb ads during the last 2 years
He
that
did.
he was here. For anything that was in the lake protection zone. And he looked to see how many bedrooms or beds or housing were being claimed at that location, and he contacted the owner.
Yeah.
He pulled the plug on a lot of those people as an enforcement agent.
Yeah.
In a way that we, in our town, don't have the authority
To
to
do,
do.
yeah. I think that should be in there. A great point.
Yeah,
Great
because
point.
he was able to say, you don't have a septic system that
Can handle 42
can handle
people.
this,
Right.
and I'm gonna report you to Airbnb and everybody else.
Right.
And that was an excellent match.
Yeah, and WSC was the one who said, go do this, we'll stand behind you if you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think that should be in there too. So great points, Pat. If people can get that information to him, I'd really appreciate it. So that he can go to the next step. I guess my question to the experts are, the odd question, is everything in there? So are the culverts in there? Are the ponds in there? Are the tributary worries that we have in there? Is everything in there that needs to be in there? And I think that's the question I'd ask the scientists to take a look at, just to be sure we don't leave something out that we've been worried about.
Well, I would have said yes, and then look what Joe came up with. I can't believe I missed that. But,
Well, you know,
yeah, what's the matter with you?
You.
Yeah.
All right, so if you'll get back to him, that would be great. Appreciate your time, and I will email Christos and let him know about that too. Okay, let's move back up to quick updates. Well, the first one is Christos, Willowbrook former grant. Anybody hear from him on that? Okay, I'll call him. Pioneer Alley plans, do you know whether our changes that we talked about will be?
well, as a reason, we saw the lobbying that went on behalf of the farmers market, which was very effective, I thought, in terms of how and when the project would be done. But when, after the meeting, you came down
Yep,
too.
yep.
We went over and met with the contractor and with Cindy and pointed out they came up with this idea of a catchment at the downstream end of Pioneer Alley, just as it goes into Willowbrook Culvert, or the undergrounding. And there would be a device installed there that would capture and filter and be maintained. So it'd be kind of it wouldn't be a mechanical structure, but it would be something that physically would precipitate stuff that we don't want going into the creek. So is that enough? I don't know, but it is something.
Okay.
And it's better than, I think, what was going to transpire. And
Well,
then you
yeah,
heard
right to
the other part of it, people were talking about pavers. And then, no, let's have solid concrete, but with a stamp on it that makes it look like pavers. Well, that's not what we're getting at with having infiltration and capture and so on and so forth. So there was a little bit of that all over the board, but I think the village official Cindy Falk, who is most closely involved with this, understands our concerns, this group's concern.
Okay.
And I think they're gonna, in the next iteration of their plans, they're gonna have something that addresses our concern about stormwater runoff directly into Willowbrook and then to.
Okay.
But if that's not enough, let me know and we'll try to,
No,
we'll get this to you.
yeah, okay, that would be,
We'll get it to
okay.
us.
That would be great.
Any of the studies that we've been doing so far show what is coming out at the end of Willowbrook. Because what I think about are things like gasoline, oil, and stuff like that.
Grease.
From all the parking, and then maybe it brought down. I mean, I know there's salt, I know there's a lot of,
See, I don't think so. I don't think
So,
anybody's looking at that.
what is coming out?
Is anybody testing that?
Well, I do not know, probably not, but one thing the village does do is run its street sweeper relentlessly, doggedly, very early in the morning. And it, I always thought, well, isn't that kind of a nice, amenity to have, so we don't have litter in streets, but it is really a substantial benefit, because it's picking up a lot of the stuff that would otherwise wash into the lake. So our streets are pretty clean in that regard. The idea of gasoline leaks and so forth, I don't see that in evidence anywhere.
It's a good question, though. We probably should ask, separately from this meeting, the village, about whether or not they are testing anything, or should they even think about it before we.
Well, we could certainly make a recommended testing.
Joe, the pushback on the pavers, that was really just specifically the type of pavers that has been used so far because of the ice problem. Did I misunderstand that?
Right.
I don't think anybody really objected to the use of pavers. They just didn't want to be slipping and falling the way they have been
Right.
along Main Street.
Well, but it's the kind of paver, I mean, these pavers are meant to be porous, they're meant to facilitate
Yeah.
infiltration. One of the commenters at the meeting was just saying, oh, no, just, to make it pretty and rustic or whatever, just have a stamped pattern of
Yeah.
concrete that's impervious. That's all I was trying to
Yeah.
say.
So Pat, I think, to your point, shall we recommend to the village that they test the water that's coming through that area, just to understand it? Is there anyone who's opposed to us requesting that?
Well, I guess, are we solution in search of a problem. I mean, I think we know there's siltation going on, but I don't know that, I don't know what it would cost to test, how frequently we would test, what we would be looking for.
Okay,
And
let's
so-
think about it. Let's think
In
about it.
part, it has to do with how much water flowing. Well, how much rain, for a lot, particularly for oils.
First
Like
flush.
out in California, my son goes surfing out there, and if nobody goes surfing the day after a rain, because there's so much oil in the water from it.
Wow.
But the rest of the year, they're out there every day, because it just doesn't come until you get a big rain, and then they get the whole thing all at once. So
Right.
you're gonna set this up for that particular problem.
Should be after.
Somebody's gotta be available to respond whenever it's likely.
Jim,
I would just say that the only valid test would be in the midst of or right after a heavy rain. You look at it now, it's a trickle, there's nothing now. But, you know, if someone wanted to go out there after a 2-inch rainstorm, that would be interesting. But again, I don't know what you do about it, you know? But
And I think.
Joe says you sweep the streets now. There is gonna be, you know, stuff's gonna drip off cars, right?
I know, yeah, yeah.
I was thinking about the filter he was talking about, and what does it filter for? And where it's being located.
It would, where the big grate is, right at the end of the.
Yeah.
Right at the L in the Pioneer Alley. There would be a chamber of some sort that would be installed there. It would be getting, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not gonna be a high-end thing. It's a.
25 years ago, Matt did a project on a number of the tributaries with a device that was triggered by water rise. And he would capture that first flush material and analyze it.
Oh.
So the technology is there, might have to be modified for this particular application, but the technology is possible, but.
All right, well, let's,
It's not as funded.
Well, it works for nutrients, but if you're looking at volatile organic compounds, etc. You
And
only have so
salt.
much, like, you know, holding time and. Yeah, the 2-inch rain after a drought might come at 3 AM on Sunday, and you need to collect the sample and, you know, freeze or whatever, and then get it to the lab within so many hours, so it actually requires quite a bit of.
so
planning.
let's put this on hold until we can noodle on it a little more.
Right,
Maybe.
but bear in mind, as Jeff pointed this out, number 13, which is probably looking at these best management practice, has a whole section related to the village of Cooperstown and stormwater management. So the idea
There it is.
of these
you.
issues that Pam's raising, we're discussing, it's in these best management
Good.
practices.
And we ought to put in there the words first flush, because the literature is full of
Okay,
descriptive articles about the differences between first flush and
okay.
averaged runoff.
Yeah, and a lot of a lot of the words you're seeing in this, and then I will shut up, it comes from the U Corps of Engineers report and recommendations about how to manage it. And frankly, the good news was, you know, we have minuscule flood risk from Willow Creek, but these other flushing activities that that's something I think we can capture in our best management practice without having all the answers right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, so let's do some updates here. The SRBC monitors, what are those? What should I call them, Kyoko? The ones they're gonna give us for free?
You mean the water level
Water level,
sensors?
water level sensors, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't heard back yet.
Okay, we'll wait. And then the satellite effort is separate.
Yeah, that is a grant that went out from ESF, and they're going to know the results in July, I believe.
All right, thank you. Pigging the line samples, I know Matt asked for some samples. Do we have any idea what they showed?
I haven't heard.
Okay,
I'll ask him.
all right, thank you.
I mean, I think it's kind of obvious what you're gonna see because of the pictures that I shared with everybody with the
Yeah.
pig head.
Yeah,
The pig was just full of persimmons.
Yeah.
It crushed hundreds and hundreds of them. They were all impaled on the brick bristles.
so, I want to clarify something about this, Paul. So the annual pigging is a best practice, not just because of cleaning the line, but what we find in there.
It does give us an indication of whether our prevention techniques are
Working.
Yes.
So that's important.
So you were talking, you had a chat with Tommy, I guess, is there an emerging sort of recommendation that the two of you could have for a protocol that we could?
No, I've been looking at the, all sorts of information on the breeding timeframes for zebra mussels. Water mussels, it's a little different, as we suspected it was. And I'm suspicious of the data that I've looked at because it appears to reflect the situation in a shallower lake.
Hmm.
We don't really have anything that matches the deep water lake that we have here for the time frame. In the published literature that I've been able to find so far. What I found is that the water mussels are breeding a month earlier and a month later, but that's in a shallower lake than our situation.
Okay.
That still would advise that we start earlier and stop later. That might prevent what we saw this time.
Start
But I also-
with what?
Well, with what they apparently are very enamored with, that earth tech. They don't like working with the potassium permanganate. It's if they don't get it right, it leaves a slight pink color to the water.
Yep.
It's corrosive. They don't want to play with it. The earth tech is perfectly safe. They can push that out. But I'm not sure that the earth tech is doing the job that it needs to do. So I go back again, repeat what I said last meeting. My recommendation would be to use the potassium permanganate for a week, once a year. Burn the pipe.
Well, there's a science and then there's a functionality. If, I was thinking as we went through this exercise that on the day of the pigging, we should have 3 pigs. And it's a hit or miss operation, right? The one pig won't scour every inch of the surface of the interior of the pipe. So you put in succession 2 or 3, and maybe you'll be scouring more stuff out. But the functionality of the pipe, even with what you find impaled on the pigs, it's not, the functionality is not impaired.
No,
He's
he's telling me that even with the cage as full of the mussels as it was, I can't describe to you the layer of mussels on the outside of the cage, which is basically a big strainer that everything's coming through. They were this thick.
Yeah.
And pulling it through that mess of mussel bissel threads. And he's telling me that there's no impact in the plant. He's looking at the gauges.
I think that's great. That's good. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it once a year, though. I feel like there's. We're making a recommendation that we do it once a year to Water and Sewer Board. Water and Sewer Board needs to, rule on
Right.
that.
So there are 2 things going on. There's a water and sewer board issue and there's a watershed supervisory committee issue. On the water, on the functionality of the system, they don't have that felt need for an annual inspection. They don't resist it, but they don't, that's not a justification for it, is if I'm hearing things correctly. If
But
we
if-
want to do science,
If
the
policy
pig.
follows science.
right, but this is more about what we're gonna get, what benefit we are gonna, we already know from the activity of pigging that the line is fine. People are getting their water, the system is operating. In other situations, those mussels have had a devastating effect on plant operations. But for whatever reason, and maybe the depth, maybe the practices that we've already got, that's working.
Yeah.
The other side of it is, what do we get, how do we use the pigging to advance our science, your science, on lake health? And
That's much easier done in other locations, not involving the village's water.
okay, well, that's what I'm getting at, Christine. So I
Yeah.
think we just have to make a realistic assessment of what we need to be doing, where we need to be spending our money, and Because it's not a,
Yeah, and they are apparently gauging the quantity of the earth pick that's coming in the pipe, because that was something that had me concerned, was
So wait a
really
minute.
happening.
Now I'm confused, Paul. Are you recommending it's done once a year? Are the scientists, well, not to put anyone on the spot.
I
but
don't-
Is it true?
I think it
That we
needs to
can-
be done in a conversation, and apparently Joe has been the middleman in this, and that works for me. I just. It was disturbing to see that many mussels come out on the pig this time. That many mussels is certainly not polluting the pipe. Because if the water, if the pipe was being occluded in any substantial way, they would have felt it with the water pressure.
Right.
So I don't have any response to a statement that we don't need to have it done.
Well,
They will have to judge from the plant and the water pressure. And they have in the past. I mean, they called us out in December one year to do the pigging.
Yeah.
And
So can there be this conversation at the
I
water
think there
board?
needs to be, I.
Need to get together here.
Far be it for me to be the intermediary, I think having the conversation both ways. Your point is, and I don't want to interrupt you, but when the point when the pressure does drop, it's almost too late. So
well, it
periodic.
could be,
maintenance
depending on what's causing it, yeah.
What's causing it. So I would, one of the things I'll drop it for now, but I like, the idea seemed pretty appealing to run the pig through 3 times once you've got that open. And then see how much less material comes out with each pass. And at least you'll get a trend. I mean, if every one of them comes out packed, we probably, are looking at a major maintenance problem that we have to keep.
Well, there is a timing issue. As you know, they get a little nervous about keeping the water going the wrong way
Right.
Yeah, at
for
Kyoto.
any extended period of time.
Go ahead.
yeah, so in order to evaluate if that dripping of potassium permanganate is going to make a difference, we need to have the pigging the exact same way next year around the same time. Or we could do it more frequently too, but the thing is that we do not know how much of the new growth will be there with different chemical treatment. But also my understanding is that that is the only intake for the village water system, right?
Yes.
So you do not want like a piece of, zebra and bugger mussel falling off from the gate for some reason and then clogging the pipe in the middle of the baseball season when divers are taking vacations and we can't get enough people to do the pigging, because that requires quite a bit of preparation, and we plan like 4, 5, 6 weeks beforehand. So that's another reason that we should keep the pipe reasonably clean at any time to avoid those accidental clogging. Or in the worst case scenario, it may not clog, but the pig may not be able
To
to
get through,
out.
right.
That would be
Another
disastrous.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I think, right, I would love to have a conversation between the scientists and the wastewater treatment plant, and let's set up a protocol that has the science parameters for gathering information. And right now, we don't know. All we know is that the pig came out slathered in stuff and shattered. Suggests to me there's a lot going on and we probably need to keep cleaning it. And I agree with you, it's time sensitive, but if we did it in rapid succession, it'd be another hour and a half, right? It takes about a half hour for the thing to make its way from.
Hey, you talk to talk to the water plant people. It's
Yeah.
not us that's in a rush, yeah.
Right, well, but that's.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to do some serious thinking. We have to have a system and a justification for the system.
yeah. Okay, so I'll capture that and we'll keep it on the agenda. I would like to see the I would like to see that conversation between the plant folks and the scientists and figure out what we come up with. And then we have, either we do it once a year and we use potassium, blah, 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 or we do something else. But we need to have it was 6 years since it was last done. We know that's not okay. We can agree on that, I think. So let's try and put something together. That would be a great BMP, best management practices. We do it every year. We use the stuff, in that narrow time frame and make sure that we do it right. So I think,
Yeah, and maybe we can discuss it at the July Water and Sewer Board. If some of you want to come to the meeting, I can see if we can put that on the agenda. And the guys will be there.
In the past, July has been a no-go month because of all the weekend activities.
Sure. So,
no, he means
I mean, just have a
the
meeting.
meeting
Not
at
to do
the
it.
water.
Oh, yeah,
Water and
Water and
sewer
Sewer
board.
Board, and if not July, we have time now.
Yeah.
Between now and.
yeah.
So
next
you'll
spring,
get us the
We
dates.
should
Yeah.
think this through.
Okay, good conversation. That's what we need to do, struggle through it. Matt's project with SUNY, nothing.
Which one?
No update with Matt's project with the professor at SUNY.
No update.
No update. Okay, I figured that. Lake Pledge update. Jim, I'm told you have an update. No?
Well, let Jeff start off.
Okay.
You talking this, all right, whatever you want. Go there.
Well, I think everyone's aware that OLA has led the effort. It's now available electronically. It's on the website of OLA. And the goal had been, on the part of the group, to make sure that the glitches were out of this before we tried to do any widespread dissemination of the opportunity for people to take the pledge. My understanding is the glitches are out. It works.
Yeah, I did it.
There is an electronic version. There's also a hard copy version now. Pass these around if people want to look at it. So now I think that having waited for glitches, this is glitch free. Question arises, how do we want to communicate and distribute this? And
This is that's the one, right?
yeah, that's the hard copy, right?
WSC, please take the pledge. Please go on. It's so easy. So easy.
You can pass those around. And, so to my way of thinking, we should take advantage of existing communication vehicles. For example, the communications program at Clark Sports Center, Senior Citizen Services. They have a distribution list of 500. And Carol, the chance, one of the directors, is very amenable to publicizing community events or things of community interest. And I speak for her, take the chance, I'm sure, to append this to one of the weekly newsletters that go out, making people aware that this exists, attached electronically. People then can access and participate, take the pledge.
It strikes me, Jeff, that if we did the BFS HABs notice list, if we did the OCCA list, if we did the OLA obviously list, and then the one from Connections, that would get to a ton of people.
It should be, I think, also on municipal websites. Examples, so there could be hard copies in the library. There was discussion about doing this at the farmer's market, making it available there.
Jeff, if I can interrupt here, I think
Sure.
this Saturday, June 20th and July 11th, we're gonna have a desk handing out hard copies, so.
At the farmer's market.
Farmers Market.
Oh, great.
So, I think we keep our awareness up. We have a church social justice committee. I've already shared a hard copy with them.
Great.
Because part of the work of that group is the environment.
Yeah.
And obviously this fits in the environment. So I think there are ample opportunities. What I'd be a little concerned about is that if we get overly passionate about this and we flood the region, it becomes duplicative and people see enough of these things that standoffish. I don't know, possibly we could do this too much. I don't know, but I think we minimally should do the list you just described, routine, dial line, the websites for the municipalities, and then in
OCCA.
their circles.
BFS, yeah.
In our circles, just keep these available. The other thing is,
No, we need to get it to those humans who have those lists. So we need to get it to Florian and Victoria and.
Well,
Victoria.
it's public, it's on our
Yeah.
website, you can copy and paste and
Oh, okay.
It's out there for anyone to use, the more the better.
Okay,
We had it go out in our newsletter yesterday. We, just the same paragraph that's in our WSC newsletter with the link to sign up. But we could keep. putting
WSC
it-
is out. WSC's list, it's gone out.
And Victoria, if you wanna put, anybody wants to put their logo on it, this is not, this is not, patented. This is, anything you want, use your logo or you keep it in addition to ours, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Just as long as it gets out, that's all we want.
yeah, it went out in our OCCA Eco Bulletin,
Okay.
and then it'll be in
WSC,
WSC newsletter that when we vote on it, I'll send it to Ellen and. we'll
Okay.
go out.
all right.
Our
Okay.
municipal leaders, municipal reps here are amenable to having this on their websites.
I don't have any problem, except that I don't have control of my website.
Yeah, I think the village has a visitor play drop-down menu. There's, I think, I'll bring them up.
I mean, I've even thought of realtors as homes are being exchanged or built, contractors, codes officers. Just have a look, here it is, geez, welcome to the community.
Yeah,
You have the approval of the planning board, the town board move in on a construction project. As a recommendation, we can keep this in mind in terms of the construction project.
so maybe we do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the farmers, but these 6 first. Cause it hasn't gone out to full OLA, has it yet?
No, we're gonna do an email blast, but it's on the website.
Okay, so,
It is.
so why don't we do that and then we'll keep it on the agenda and maybe in a few months. Realtors, et cetera, just keep it moving, don't lose sight of it. Does that sound right?
Yes, and the other thing that I think is important, Jim, is that meeting was held 3 or 4 weeks ago. There will be a means, as I understand it, track the number of people who take the pledge. So we'll see how effective this is.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about administration, frankly, But I don't, you're right.
It's possible, but it may not get done.
Well, yeah, we gotta talk, so we're still.
All right, good update, good work, I think, great work. Florian, I'm thinking no update on the lake patrol until we have a new sheriff in town, so to speak.
That's right.
Now, log,
As always, if you hear about incidents on the lake, send them to me so I can relay them and they'll keep track of them.
okay, and I have loggers down here. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, loggers are the water intake.
Right.
Yeah, they're deployed, but because they are loggers, not buoy. We don't know if it's working or not.
Until you pull them.
Yeah,
And we won't know until the end of the summer, so
Fair enough.
put a note on your notes there to bring it up in October.
Okay, I will.
I
Thanks.
think this is a kind of related question. If we're trying to do better, especially by next summer, if we have somebody who's actually going to be patrolling the lake, or mostly patrolling the lake, I believe we need more buoys, is it right? And the ability to put them out there,
No, we don't
No.
need more books.
we don't. need more buoys.
No,
Because
because we don't have anybody to maintain them.
Because we don't have anybody, so we need the money to maintain them.
Not the money,
Yeah.
people. We've been doing buoys on a ridiculously small budget because we don't pay for any of the labor.
Okay, so the reason I raise this is, starting in August, the town's going into its budget season. And if we're saying we wanna increase enforcement, then I say, well, if we want people to be able to know when they're close to the shore, we may need more buoys and maybe we need more money to pay to have things installed, and as a town board member, then maybe I should be advocating that the municipalities, because we all go into the same budget season, as a village, should be asking for this stuff, and then how much is it?
Hmm.
Because you can't ask for enforcement unless you're willing to pay for it, otherwise it's a joke.
So, do you want to noodle on that a little?
So if somebody can give me some numbers or how it might be done, in August, in September, I'm willing to push for it.
Yeah,
I think this is a subset of a larger question. That question is, what is the WSC going to ask from the other municipal, well, all the four municipalities in terms of support for what we're doing here?
I know,
This would fit,
it would.
but are there other things that we'd like the municipalities to fund? Our contribution expires at the end of the year.
I know.
And to Pat's point, budget seasons hits in August. I already have my form. What am I asking for? Different accounts for next year's budget. So I don't know where that stands, and I don't know if I want to spend a whole lot of time on that today.
Well,
But it does fold into, I think, a larger.
yeah, let's discuss it in a minute. Let's just get through the 9E stuff and then let's talk about it, because Pat's brought it up before too. We keep saying we're gonna wait for the 9E, that, you know, that's another year and a half away. I don't know that we should wait. So let's just get through the 9E stuff. Okay, we talked about the BMPs. Please get back to Jake, as I said. We did get other lake BMPs to members for your suggestion. And then communications committee, I sent you the new communication document that we need to vote on today. I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Listen, I almost missed that, because I was. In 2007, OLA, big effort at the time, put out a booklet, a 14-page booklet called Smart Steps. We still have, I don't know, 300 or 400 of them. There's a link on the OLA website to the Smart Steps booklet. So with all the other links that we have in your article, we ought to have the Smart Steps link there, and maybe a word that says that hard copies be available at the OLA member meeting in August.
Fabulous. Yay. Good ad.
But what's nice about that is it's a condensed introduction to lakeshore living.
And then we'll add the pledge there.
I'm not so sure that what we are putting out with all those links isn't just a bit intimidating. This would be an introduction to the whole topic. That's what we tried to do with that. Yeah?
So are you saying this should go out in the June one
Right.
or the next?
Yes.
In June?
June.
Okay, so I can put that
Right.
before
Yeah.
the
So,
lake pledge.
Yes.
If you go to the OLA website and then go to publications,
Smart steps.
Small Steps is at the top.
Okay, yeah, I can add that in.
And as I said, paper copies are available.
It is.
Can you bring one to all of us?
Yeah,
Next
absolutely. Happy to.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know, I'm so
When
sorry.
we do the work with the BOCES kids every May on the buffer strip, we hand out copies of it to the kids, try to get them to read it. Most of them leave them. But some of them actually read it. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Pat's appropriations point. We are talking about a 90 plan. We are talking about best management practices in that plan, and we talk about seeking grant funding for them. I don't know if we want to, at this stage of the game, ask municipalities to prepare budgets for implementation of a plan we don't have yet. The hurry up and wait mentality, this is a long process. We're talking about climate, we're not talking about weather. So I know we have gone back and forth on this a lot. I appreciate the fierce urgency of now to get stuff done while we're doing it, but 2 years in the scheme of things, when we're on a course to get stuff done, and we're gonna wind up with something in 2 years, we won't have just kicked the can down the road. Makes me feel that we can maybe organize some of this.
Yeah, I agree. And I have this thing in the back of my head, and Pat keeps that fresh and for all of us, is that just like the 9E plan, we have an agenda that lists, this is what we got to do for the 9E plan, and this is what can't wait. So for the can't wait stuff that we're worried about, I guess the question to think about is whether there needs to be the interim process with the municipalities to say, we know at least this, that we're gonna need to take care of X, Y, and Z. And what is the role? Should we even begin the discussion now so that in a year we're ready to have a more thorough discussion? I don't know. A case can be made for all of it.
If it's, for example, to say, we prepare yourselves to cooperate in developing a grant application. You know, among the municipalities to get this money, as opposed to prepare yourself to budget your own. You know, your own funds for this. I think that's a lot to ask for when nothing's really that well defined. Maybe later on, maybe there'll have to be matching. Funds from the municipalities for getting some of these grants.
Well, there will be an absence of the dollars that have been provided. I don't know what the other municipalities did. We contributed 5,000 for 2026. If the other folks did the same, there's 15,000, which isn't coming forward. It's going to have to come out of somebody's budget, and probably going to be the villages. Those dollars were for salary offsets, as I recall.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's for
my
the,
job easier to do it this way,
so the,
but somebody's going to have to come with 50,000. If you guys put 5,000.
wait, the scientific advisor is 5,000 from each town. That's not gonna change. Kyoko is gonna be our scientific advisor.
I don't know that as a town board member. Has Ron Morgan or has your brother gotten a letter saying it is expected you will do this year after year? I don't think so.
I don't know.
You know, we shouldn't assume.
No,
I wouldn't assume anything.
okay.
So
I can
some,
tell you that my current supervisor doesn't have such a request on his desk. It's like, what?
No, that's good. That's good. That was
That's-
I thought we were talking about funding for buoys and the other.
I am talking about that, but
Well,
this.
this is different. This is our ongoing enterprise that we want to keep funding for. So-
I'll put that in writing I'll put that in writing so you'd want something from either WSC or the village, I guess.
Yeah, I think the mayor has to
Okay,
take a lead role.
all right, I'll take care of that. Thank you very much.
I
Appreciate
mean, we
it.
can recommend it as a WSC, but I think there's still gonna have to be some diplomacy.
Okay, okay, good.
Can I go into this just a little bit? Are the things that come up for which you'd like to have, I'll just say, a contingency fund?
Yes,
Is there a contingency fund?
no, well, yes, it would be great,
Only for the foundation.
only through the foundation.
Okay. And how much is in there?
This year we had total of 20,000, which essentially paid for some interns.
And is that gonna be replenished?
Well, the community foundation has a lake fund part of it, so every year there's a percentage of that we get to meet about and allocate.
Plus whatever rest gets put in during that calendar year.
Right, so other people can put in for lake related stuff too, as much as W's.
Well, I just wonder, I appreciate you get balance here, but hurry up and wait, point Joy, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying too,
But are things gonna come up
yeah,
that we don't know about, we didn't anticipate, and having slush fund?
a watershed fund,
I'm sorry.
a watershed fund in each town,
Watershed fund. Well, no,
no,
a thing that comes to the WSC. I wouldn't ask the municipalities to have a contingency fee in case we get a note from the WSC for $3,000. What I'm wondering is if we want to ask the municipalities not only to cover the 5,000 that he's found somewhere, but another, I don't know, pick up 5,000 that in anticipation of, and we could give examples of things like the booth and other things that we didn't know about, but we are anticipating. We know this is a huge endeavor. We are taking a more cautious approach on a larger request for the discussion, which I support that. Just an idea, just to give us.
yeah, that's
clarity.
what I was trying to say, the same thing, you know, we've got the urgency of now, and then let's wait until we've got the whole thing in front of us. Let me put that on the agenda for us to spend some time on.
Give it some thought.
Because I think that could be another way for the municipalities to come together and talk about this. Not necessarily decide anything, but what do you think? Are there things we need to think about in terms of some sort of
Yeah, for a long time, many communities have conservation fund from bed tax or forest fee and those kind of things.
Yes. All right, I'll keep it on the agenda. I'm not sure yet.
We have, I think, 14 or so line items in our budget under Watershed,
Mhm.
including contractual arrangements that we identify the research foundation, I'm giving us $5,000. And another 10,000 for miscellaneous activity. Then we have training and so mailing and so on, but yeah, how we beef that up, I don't know.
So let's, Pat, don't let us forget about this. See how valuable you are as a team member? But I think, I struggle with this because like I said, I think there are things that can't wait. That nobody has budgeted anywhere. I can't be articulate about what those things are to the exact penny. But we all know they're gonna come up. This is a great example.
Are the municipalities supposed to contribute Jacob's salad?
I don't know.
mean, the fact that
I don't
the
think that's,
village popped for it the first time doesn't mean that it's not something that's at least contemplated perhaps in an ongoing intermunicipal.
Good question.
The inspection fee is partly funding that staff position.
that's true. Yeah, the
So
new
that's
inspection.
why that was such a significant, it's a user fee in a way, because the people who have the privilege of living on the lake have an impact on them. And we have an authority to protect the water supply, the public health, and so this is how we're kind of balancing that all up, rather than take it from
Right.
the general fund of any municipality. We're targeting those who have the impact,
But
and it's apparently legitimate, so.
it's a good question, though. I mean, I think we do have to struggle with this sooner rather than later. I mean, there's no harm in beginning the conversation, I guess. Do you think, Pat, that might be?
And I think that Jeff may be right, but this is a time that you really gotta remind the towns. Because we are all starting to talk budget. That was when I had a long discussion with my highway committee on today. How much are we spending on roads? We can't wait to find that out. We have to know soon. For next year.
I think, and this will be the last thing I say about it, I think a lot of this is gonna be more real and more understandable and more accessible once we have our 90 plan submitted and we are on the implementation trail with the best management practices. I think then calling for money, identifying specific appropriations, having a grant that requires a match. I don't know what the mood is in each municipality and how much impact leaders want to have on their taxpayers. But I think when we come with something, it should be right.
And at least one municipality has said, let's start the conversation now. Another municipality has said, what's the plan? So, I mean, people are asking, I don't know, what do you think about Springfield?
Well, they've talked about this a number of times. Right now, I think they're with support. We're happy to support the $5,000 for Kyoko. I don't. They're a huge part of their budget. Is from the rest of it is plowing snow, and like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I don't think I really know where they are.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right. I'll keep this on the agenda to talk about more because I'm of two
Bill,
minds on this. Frankly.
What is your schedule? Because we know that the village and Otsego are out of sync. What is your schedule for budget?
Oh,
Same.
I think it's the same.
It's the same
All
as the,
towns are on the same budget.
Yeah.
Okay, towns are on the same, but the
Village
village
is
is
not.
not something different.
that's right.
Every department is supposed to have a budget, draft budget to the town supervisor in early August. And then the conversations progress so that by October, it's being published to the public for discussions in November, for this adoption by December. So
Right, and the village is roughly February to May.
All right. Well, we'll at least bring the scientific advisor component to the town, to the village, so that you have an official document on that and then keep going with it. Thanks, Pat. It's important conversation. We started this 3 years ago with the MOU conversation. Regulatory is gonna have a meeting coming up, getting ready to do that. Yes, Jeff? And tributary? Was there a new plan to have a meeting?
I didn't get anything back from, the Jake, I think that the going over, or really the plan of what we were was just to talk about the best management practices, and I think what we're doing with the, going through it for Jake, there'll be a few things out of that we'll probably want to get together and talk about. Once
Okay.
we've got that worked out. But I
Okay.
think that's it.
All right.
Down here.
The communication, we got the update. We continue to be hard to get all those people in the team together. It's terrible, isn't it? And then scientific committee, anything to report here?
We are getting close to having the climate predictions up to 2075 ready. So that will be incorporated into the watershed and the lake modeling. As I said before, we had a bit of an issue because the Chesapeake Bay program only had prediction up to 2030, which is not very helpful. But we are working towards having the prediction up to 75, 2070.
So when you say a prediction, you'll have a list of consequences, of specific things that are going to happen based on your modeling and your predictive science.
So UFI.
There'll be, 4 climate scenarios. So like do nothing, just keep burning fossil fuel and do nothing. And then do a little bit very aggressive and like super aggressive climate, anti-climate change. And then see what happens to the sediment, phosphorus and nitrogen load into the lake and how that affects the final like water clarity and chlorophyll.
And who will, this is UFI?
Yeah,
So
UFI.
this is not gonna have any government sanction associated with it. This
No,
is
there's just
Upstate
information.
Freshwater Institute is,
Yeah, UFI and Anchor. So Anchor QEA is doing the watershed. And they're also going to have scenarios like, what if everyone switched to ADUs instead of conventional septic systems? Or what happens if like croplands were turned into wetlands or, and that is where they need the BMPs because they're going to say like, okay, we are going to select BMP numbers like 1, 5, and 10. And if we did those things completely, perfectly, what would happen to the load from the watershed and consequently in the lake, given the climate scenarios?
so
Fascinating. Fascinating.
is the BMP list the menu from which these remedies are selected, or will there be some other source of action? Or
This is.
This
the
should be it.
menu
This is the
that
menu.
Anchor is going to use to select those scenarios, BNP scenarios.
And this is a process that the consultants have used in every 90 plan that they've done.
So for example, if you select a wrong BNP, doesn't really, that does not really apply to Otsego Lake, then it is not going to be very meaningful because the model might say, okay, we're going to make all the parking lots more sustainable. Well, we don't have that many parking lots. So the scenarios that are fed into the water quality modeling is not going to be very meaningful.
So what is the how does this relate to what, say, the state is doing in its policy making for climate prediction, or the EPA, or the other federal agencies? Are we sort of out on our own doing this?
It's very much top down, so we are using the information from EPA. DEC, etc. So these are more localized final product, and we are not going to like directly affect what's happening higher up.
Okay,
Do any of you science people want to be involved in that? I mean, that's probably sounds fascinating to you, doesn't it? Not really?
Another key.
I thought it was very fascinating.
It's cool stuff, but there's a lot of other cool stuff happening.
Well,
He
you
wants
tell
to
us all
do AI.
about it, Gloria.
But that's a very serious point to me, because that's what I was trying to get at. If we come up with this kind of work product, and it's going to be how we run our watershed in the foreseeable future, how readily can that be impeached by some other stuff going on out there? I mean, what we want to not get into is a battle of the studies and so on. We want to know that we're out after money to do things, that this has got the badge of the seal of approval.
From DEC, yes.
Yeah.
So if we are going to apply for a DEC grant, state grant, after 9/11 plan, if one application says, well, we are proposing to do this improvement based on the recommendation of the 9/11 plan, that is going to be rated higher than another proposal that says, we did this study on our own and our result says that this is going to work. They're not going to have the same kind of points as the one that is backed by 9/11.
And so that's why these BMPs, we gotta get them as comprehensive.
It's
and
possible.
Yeah,
That's
perfect.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that last word is key.
That is the last
If
word.
Well, last word from him.
Yeah,
He said he was done.
I am done.
he always says he's done.
He's already said that
Can-
3 times.
Can you go through these and just say they have the biggest impact in 2040 versus 2007? Could you say the ones that if you were in charge, if you were the queen for the day, you could just do, I would pick these 22 things. Those are the BMPs that collectively have the biggest impact. I mean, I can go through these, but
Well,
I'm no scientist.
No, that is actually the result of the modeling.
yes.
So
So the prioritization is next, Jeff. So first, do we have the whole list? A, B, what are the top ones with the top priority based on some of the modeling that's being done?
Okay,
So that's
so,
the next step.
so we're gonna mesh the reports we send into Jake, which he's gonna synthesize for us, put all this thing together. And we're gonna compare that to what you find and see then we'll do the prioritization.
Correct.
But that's
They
gonna
will
be the
both-
critical variable we're working with.
Yes,
Okay, I get it.
very complicated, very exciting stuff.
No, that's nice.
You can see how
Okay.
excited the scientists were over it. Okay, notification with the Otsego 2000 list, with your HABs list. Did you talk to Ellen about that? Was she able to be helpful?
Not yet. So you're fresh. I mean,
So we were thinking,
the offered them, they want to be on the HABs list.
yeah,
Okay, I'll put it.
hey, Ellen can send it out,
Yeah, that's
Florian,
fine.
if you want to contact her,
Yeah.
or I can, whichever you want.
I got it on my list now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk about the grants for 1 second?
Yes, sure.
The Mill Street grant, I'm sure I've heard it here, but I don't recall. The reason I'm asking the question is. Town of Otsego and the town of Middlefield have an issue. The Mill Street Bridge needs attention. Serious attention, as I understand.
Because otherwise.
And what's the grant?
Everybody headed to the hospital.
What grant is being addressed to Mill Street?
All right, not that. The Mill Street grant is a assessment of how how the system could be more effective in terms of monitoring water levels, not having humans going out and pulling boards up and
The
putting
dam.
Oh, the dam?
the dam.
Oh, okay,
The village, it doesn't own the Mill
Short answer,
Street,
yeah.
right? The village doesn't own Mill Street, right? Middlefield does.
Yeah, that's a,
And on Seagull.
Go and.
Oh,
you'll both-
Okay,
but
God bless
the
you.
case may be made, the village has a stake in this. We're working it.
Okay, good. I'll leave that to you. They broke, the village broke it? How did they break it?
Oh.
How did they break it?
I'm not saying anything. I've been told I'm done.
Okay. All right, so I hope that helps. And then
Yes.
Amy, one of her grants that she sent in for grant writers didn't make it. She's still got another one in, and Ashley hasn't heard back yet. So I can get you up to date on both of those. Don't know about the public hearing outcomes yet because they haven't happened. This is a big question for me. Should we be contacting Alsmeer and Bayside and Sam Smiths about the wakeboard boat thing? Should we be,
I'm maybe talking to Sam Smith.
would you let them know? I mean, they must know, right?
I am planning to talk to Sam Smith.
About that topic.
Yeah,
Got it, I got
I'm
it.
inviting them to come to the public hearing. We've already heard one letter from somebody at Sam Smith who has a book.
Okay, so important for the scientists to be at that public hearing.
The July 8th.
Yeah.
July
Hey,
6:45.
And I
Lauren.
will line the 9th and 7th.
Yours is July 9th?
Yeah.
Should we have someone there? Science, cert human,
Get her copies, maybe nothing, or there could be.
who can, between Kyoko and Paul and Florian, who can make that one? Can you guys figure something out? You don't have to commit now.
I've got that.
You've got it. All right, yay.
So I will contact, I think the answer to your question is yes. And
Okay.
I will contact Bayside.
You will, okay. So that leaves Alsmeer.
Anybody know the folks there? I don't know.
Is that Springfield, Bill?
That's pretty good.
I'm sorry,
Alsmeer, is that
Yes.
Springfield?
Yep,
it is.
it is.
Should we should you be contacting Alsmeer about the wakeboard boat thing?
Oh, we can.
Okay.
um,
Just to make sure they
You could
know.
start with a whole list of things that go on there that. I mean, there's no,
Bayside and Oldsmith.
yeah, I mean, there's no, screening of whether the boats are clean. There's, you just drive down, give them $20 and drop the boat in.
Well, one of the, this may be bold or more aggressive, but given the business that each of these private marinas does, and given the presumably few wake boats there are, I would like to consider lobbying them to say, we don't launch wake boats. And they can publicize it on their whatever websites or whatever. I mean, that would be a private action if they are perfectly. And then they won't have a law staring them in the face. They'll have their own decision. Not that you won't go ahead and do the law, but they're just, how do we persuade these operators that it's really not, it's the sleeves off their vest for the most part to not launch wake boats?
Cleans off there.
Well, it's interesting, the discussion here in the styrofoam and the micro whatevers that emanate when these things dissolve. I find that they said, as they said, we're very much aware of this, and that for their docks, they examine each one of the dock sections and repair as necessary, cover as necessary, so not issue, they had already done it. So which is good news. And I have to know the F1 that gets assessed by the state, I see the results have come back. And they're compatible with state standards in terms of the cleanliness of that building. So I think building a relationship with these folks is a good idea. And I love the idea of them privately saying, yeah, we understand what you're doing here and we will support it. I think that's a great idea.
So are we
Hopefully they'll succeed.
are we talking about getting together? Do we want to get together with them as a committee?
I'd start with the private diplomacy if you're comfortable doing that.
I
Yeah, my hope is that those establishments would consider safety of their guests, paddling around along the shoreline versus, wake boats making unpredictable big waves that could actually scare off like families, with small children who are staying at their motels. They could also have issues with beginner boat renters who are not really sure about the, whereabouts of the lake, who could be exposed to high weights from the weight loads, and I think overall, because they have been operating in a relatively weight load less environment, they may want to keep it that way instead of thinking of weight boats as their business opportunities.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Okay, so we start with private diplomacy. I'll keep it on the agenda so we don't forget to do it. We were hoping to have an extra scientist here today, right, Florian? But no,
She's in the field,
she's in the field. She's in
Being
the
a
field.
scientist.
Okay, being a scientist.
She'll get here eventually.
Okay, good. And then the Manchurian thing I sent out for all of you to noodle on. Couple of things came up from other folks who had read it. One is, we can discuss it next time. Ask the towns who are most affected by it, is there something WSC can do? And if so, then we remain open to that.
I have one more thing I could say on that.
Yeah, please.
If we understand our watershed doesn't have good absorption, and there are problems with the water table, and there are problems with installing septic systems on a massive development like this. I think the WSC has a stake in the discussion because of the water quality impacts to the lake
I do
and the
too.
public water supply to the building.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I really, what do others think? That's just my guess is the stuff people are raising about water and sewer issues with this development, things that will make their way to the lake in a way that we should be involved in the consideration of this point.
Is it Otsego and are there two towns involved?
Springfield, did you get the notice of lead agency from Springfield?
No,
Because I told them to send it to you.
no. The notice of what?
Lead agency.
Oh,
Springfield were declared itself to be the lead agency for the secret process for the development in Springfield. Because their subdivision laws, I go to the Springfield meetings too, because I like to keep track of what's going on here. The Springfield subdivision law says that their secret process begins when the site plan, sketch plan process begins. Ours doesn't. So they started the secret process and they declared themselves to be the lead agency. And they were supposed to send a notice of that to all the potentially affected agencies. And I said something to Henry Miller and I said something to their lawyer and said, you guys should make sure you notify the Watershed Supervisory Committee. But I didn't write it down, I just said it. So you should have received a notice that they have declared themselves lead agency, which means you should get copies of everything that they're doing. If you thought that you could be the lead agency, you can contest about it, and you have 30 days to do that. So I would investigate whether you are. It might be hidden around here someplace, it came in and you get it, or you might call Henry Miller and find out.
Is this the announcement that comes out from their lawyer about changes that occur regarding tributaries of the
No.
No, this is just the sketch plans have been presented to the planning board on this potential subdivision. We are beginning this State Environmental Quality Review Act process. We declare ourselves to be the lead agency for this process. All the rest of the agencies who might have an interest in this, we're gonna be the lead agency, and if you want to take it over instead of us, you have to notify us and say why you're gonna do it, and then DEC will decide.
So Springfield has taken it over.
Has notified everybody that they wanna be the lead agency.
Henry about it.
It happened.
Could you do
last
and make sure that
week.
we're included in that
it was in the
communication?
article.
So has the town of Otsego received that official notice from Springfield? I've seen it in the paper, but,
I am not.
right,
it would have, and I'm working on the supervisor. So this is an inquiry for me to make
Okay.
about from each of them. I saw the supervisor today and I said, any interesting mail? And he said, so I don't know if he got a notice or not.
Well, and for the town of Otsego, wouldn't the town planning board also at the appropriate time declare itself the lead agency for the development in its?
It could,
Yeah, and that wouldn't be a conflict, that would just be two jurisdictions that they have to contend with. I think for this body, I think the appropriate reference is to the village of Cooperstown. We're a committee, under.
you might want to ask, I know the village, all the municipalities were on the list. But I also said the Watershed Supervisory Committee is a subset, as is the planning board, a subset of the town. And it was the planning board that was issuing the notice that they wanted to be the lead agency. So I think, you know, they had a very long list.
Will you
So I would
talk
just
to
ask.
Henry?
I'm not sure that I understand what the level of this is. I mean, we did talk about making sure that the WSC was involved in any decisions that had to do with water coming out of the ground or putting it in.
This is that, sounds like, see if I have this right. Springfield has declared that in this development project, they are going to be the seeker.
This, the lead
Lead
agency
agency.
for the secret process as it applies to the project in the town of Springfield.
What she said.
Right, so conceivably,
Just in the town of Springfield, not,
Well,
but the way I read the paper, they were the lead agency for the subdivision, period.
well, that's an interesting question.
Okay,
I'm not,
that's why we need to see it.
I am not aware or either.
Yes, we need to see that document.
So I can't say, because I know that even though the planning board of the town of Otsego was presenting with the same plan the night before, the town of Springfield got it 2 nights before. Our zone, our ordinance does not bring the hammer down for a seeker review during site sketch plan.
Sketch plan, only on site plan.
Yeah.
but later,
There's no application for a site
Site
plan
plan, yeah.
in the town of Otsego.
but when there is, you can declare yourself the lead agency.
No, because they've already, they're out in front, and if the town of Otsego doesn't dispute that within the 30 days of the notice,
Then they can't
It's all
ever be
in
the,
Springfield.
can't ever be the
and
seeker.
the town of Otsego just goes there like a landowner and whines and complains about whatever Springfield is doing.
We're in there for this group, so I will not be giving any legal advice on this, but it looks like Paul's gonna do it.
Pat, do you know there's
Well, 12
a,
years on the planning board, I think.
there's a distinction between relevant agencies and other agencies? Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that? Because I know SUNY Oneonta is a relevant agency. Yeah,
Agencies, you are on the top list. of-
so we should be notified too. We were not. Yeah, yeah.
But they could have, did they send it to the biological field station?
Oh, I would know.
Or did they send it to the president of SUNY?
Yeah,
Like, who did
I
they
think I would still know.
Who did they send it to? Yeah, so I'm just saying. That is what they declared and said they were going to do.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Just, I'm just in this from the viewpoint of Middlefield, which gets, some of our residents get their drinking water from Cooperstown. So there's that interest that I have, so water quality as a town board member is important for our town. And then this will move into next week, I don't think today, but a discussion on what is the position or what stance is the WSC going to take on this?
Well, that was my question. Should we?
That was some discussion, I think.
I think there are two layers though, and I think they should be distinguished. One is a position during the process, the proposal process and the evaluation of that proposal. And then the reality of if this were to come to fruition, what will be the regulatory burden on the WSC? And to think about the reality of the fact that we are currently behind on septic tank inspections. How will that change if we get a spike in population? So I think there are two kind of topics there.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I would add a third to Tony's point. Is it conceivable that we would outline what the requirements are that we would support in terms of any development that goes on with managed areas? So now to just be, not just be reactive to whatever they come up with, but say, this is what we think would need to be done to meet the standards for quality of the water.
Yeah, that was my question. Should we do something?
I mean, at the risk of trying to come up with something that is, covers every possible variable or criterion, I don't know. But I think we should have some idea of what we minimally would expect from any development that would assure that the drinking water is maintained.
Well, and the thing is, we would need to do hydrology studies and geotechnical studies to determine what the impacts of this kind of development, as they're laying it out, would have on the water supply and how it, how wastewater would be diminished and increased and make their way to the lake. If we don't have that kind of prediction,
Both planning boards
we
can ask for that.
right, but we would have, but I don't know if they're gonna ask for it in the way we would ask. I mean, from the,
Pretty sure, because I went to both of them, and I know at our planning board, the whole discussion was how are we going to know about exactly that question? And the developer has to pay for those experts. So we might need to, if we wanted to make sure that we understood, we might decide we wanted to, he has to pay for our experts, not just his own.
Right, it's the
so we have in mind as our science contingent, how we would frame up what we want studied. So that we could have a determination of impacts on the lake.
The first challenge for this development is because basically all the houses is built are going to draw from their own wells, right? So we do not know how much water is going to be taken out, and that determines the wastewater load and the concentration of nutrients that are coming from that. So that is very different from typical subdivision in suburban areas where you can just assume that whatever water needed is going to come from the municipal water system. So in kind of the difficult, situation for us, the developer could say, oh, we are only going to draw this much water from the groundwater for the development, and then that determines that could like underestimate the amount of effluent and the nutrient load that comes out. So it's really, really important to have a good estimate of how much water is going to be drawn and used by the houses. But that unfortunately is beyond the scope of WSC because we are only going to be concerned about the water that's coming into the lake that is through the effluent. You know what I mean? Like we do not have the control about the groundwater withdrawal.
Kyoko, doesn't DEC provide some like standard, this is what an average house will
Right.
take?
Yeah.
And aren't they going to have to
Planning
use those
boards
numbers?
metrics
Yeah.
for these subdivisions that talk to the number of bedrooms and what the water usage is.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you guys might want to do what I just did on Sunday. Two people who live there, first of all, the plan as it exists, plans as they exist now, are different from what was originally contemplated. The housing that was going to be closer to the lake has been eliminated. There are only a few that are within 500 feet, as far as I can tell, maybe none. So I think I have to go back and look, but they've radically altered that plan. They are no longer going to use Red House Hill Road for anything. That makes a big difference because previously they were going to turn that into like a major highway out of the whole thing. I went on a tour with two people who lived there, Tom Drake and Tom Chase, and we basically circled the whole thing and drove all around through the hills with the maps in the car of where exactly the different parts of it were going to be. And without that visualization of uphill, down, dale, here's the wetlands, you know, from the Watershed Supervisory Committee position, it is exactly as Yoko said. It's the effluent that this community would be concerned with.
And to that point, Pat, I would also say I've done those tours myself. I've been studying these properties intensively for the last 12 months, and there is an imaginary road off Thurston Hill Road. I can show anyone here who's interested, we can hop in the truck. And it really is powerful to go out there into the wildlands and say, this plan is you have to imagine a fully functional roads supporting that subdivision off Thurston Hill, which Thurston Hill is wild.
And.
Yeah.
30 houses in it, and this
Yeah.
would be the only way out.
So that, I'm just offering, if I've spent some time reconning this whole thing. I got the Hunter's app, so I know the property lines, and it is powerful. I mean, we can talk here about it in this room, but if you go up in the hills, it's just really like, you almost can't wrap your mind around it. And maybe, anyway, that's,
Sprouts are there, just kind of where it runs from the. It was.
I mean, wouldn't 80 have to be all reassessed for the traffic and the damage?
Christine?
Yeah.
Just make a comment. We should be concerned. These are important conversations, but this thing is a scheme and a scam to increase the value of a 95-year-old man's property for his heirs. There's not going to be 40, there's not going to be 20, there's not going to be 10 houses built. We all know people, I won't mention their names, who have had houses on the hill up there for 10 years. 10 years and they can't sell. We're not gonna see $1 million McMansions up there. Now, that doesn't say you don't wanna act on principle. We should act on principle, but I don't lose sleep about it because there's no market. Nobody wants to live up there. No offense. Some people don't, Paul, you're there. I'm saying the general public with huge houses, and no offense to Springfield. Some people don't want their kids going to Springfield school if they have kids.
That's not.
So I think, it's a concern. You should fight it on principle, but I don't think it's real. That's my opinion.
Okay.
and I would just add briefly to that, like, I agree, Jim, but, talking a lot to Greg Farmer, think in terms of 20 to 50 years, if New York becomes more popular as a destination to live in a changing climate. And so in the proximal, I agree, but I don't know about 50 years from now.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to keep that in mind too. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. We shouldn't not be interested in it.
One other thing, that all the people I've talked to is that nobody thinks that Manchurian is actually gonna develop any of this. They're gonna sell it all to individual people who will develop these independently all over the place.
Is that what you're hearing, Jim? too?
They don't think that they're gonna be bought out and these, like the chunks that they're drawing on the maps I've got. But this will be, there just isn't that, there isn't that kind of demand now.
Well,
But to sell the land, he has to do the subdivision, he has to show how it's going to be used.
Right, and
The
provide the infrastructure.
thing that I certainly agree with what Jim said. I've been saying from the first announcement that there's no market for it. But we need to keep in our minds that the courts of New York will not allow the municipalities to prohibit subdivisions that are allowable by the laws on the books. And we have laws on the books in both Otsego and Springfield that allow for this subdivision.
Yeah.
So
All
we
true.
need to get down in the weeds and talk to specific impacts to cause site plan review to mitigate whatever damage this plan is doing. But anybody who thinks that this is stoppable is wasting everybody's energy.
But is it true that to approve, if the plan is as you described, the subdivision will still have to have been approved, and a lot of times those subdivisions, those approvals require the infrastructure to be built, irrespective of when any lot
Right.
is actually sold.
And
It has to go in now.
that is a huge issue, particularly for the town of Otsego that has some strange law that allows the developer to do it after the last plot is sold. That needs to be fixed, town of Otsego.
Okay,
No,
another
Town
fascinating.
of Springfield laws as well.
All right, I think we're done here. Anything that didn't get said or should be said?
Oh, just one thing, so the, Rhonda and Willie and I
Yes.
started C-SLAB for this year, but they would like, going forward, they would like some other people to be able to cover for them when they are not able to do it. No, they are already living in New Hampshire 3/4 of that year now. And we need to be serious about finding people who can take over.
I had that on the agenda. I'm so sorry, I skipped it. Yeah. So this is really important because Doug and Rhonda did, well, as you did, huge amounts of testing.
I called last winter and asked if I could be on and said, no, we've already got those people in. They won't let you get trained.
Who'd you call?
Well, it was whatever it came through the,
Nancy Mueller.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, next year then we should insist that you get trained during C-SLAB. So,
Because if we can't take over, because we didn't get trained, that'll be a problem.
Right. So anyone else on the committee? If you have ideas, let Kyoko, or if you want to do it, let Kyoko know. But without that, without those samples, can't do the work. Can't do
and
it.
C-SLAB is really important because the data are DEC sanctioned, you know, those that follow the protocols and everything. And that goes into the state database.
Yeah.
And that is how the state is going to see how well the individual lakes are doing. So it's really important that we are part of it.
So I'm gonna keep it on the agenda until you have the complement you need. Okay,
you-
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention.
Whoever it is, Ms. Follow, or DEC, who did the training. And see if there's any other way for any of us to get training.
Yeah, they usually do some in the Finger Lakes area after C-SLAB, so I can ask. Yeah, and also Nancy Mueller is retiring, so
Okay. That'll change things. All right, I think our work is done. Please turn off your mics.
Yeah, you have a good summer so far?
Yeah, so far.
Paul,
Got out the road this morning, so.
And I was like, listen.
7 o'clock.
Going for a while.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah. I don't get out of